you're taking under consideration, you said to have a dumpster or on the service garage or someplace on the east. Can you verify that?
Well, we've already had an inquiry from the Lions Club. They would like to replace the dumpster at Fire Station number 1 with a dumpster from a company that they're dealing with that, you know, they have said would actually generate a little bit of, you know, revenue for newspapers and magazines. The dumpster that's there now doesn't generate any revenue for the city. Not that a dumpster there would generate a lot of revenue, but they feel, you know, it would be more used if they got involved. So I said, sure, go ahead, have that one removed, and you're free to put your dumpster there and, you know, see how it works. And then we can also, you know, look at putting a dumpster or 2 at the service garage.
Glass, plastics, and so forth. Not
Sure.
paper.
Well, you know, right now it seems like the paper and the magazines have the biggest value, or the largest value, the most value. The market for glass and plastic is like, you know, bottomed out and it's pretty worthless from what I was told. So, you know, we're looking into that.
Thank you.
Well, they are. They're, you know, they have my permission to switch them out and do that.
If I could make a comment to what Alex said, I contacted a person that I know that's in the office of sustainability with the city of Cleveland, asking them if they know of any company that would be able to just provide a dumpster. I don't know at what cost, but specifically just for plastic and glass. And I've not gotten a response yet because I just inquired a few days ago. So if I find out anything, I can let you know.
Okay. Any other questions or? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have one, and a very open one. I think maybe what everybody wants to know, what's next? Seeing that the levy has failed, is there any talk of additional levies in the future in November, or any other source of income that may be out there that we haven't openly discussed yet, or the cuts that may be made because of the failure of the levy, what they will be and when will they be?
In which order do you want me to answer?
Yeah,
As far as like additional levy, the next election is November. So if anyone wants to introduce any kind of levy, I mean, you're all legislators, you're free to do that. I know I've read some emails from a few council members that they were pretty clear in saying they would not support any levies that their constituent had spoken, not once but twice, by defeating property tax levy and then defeating the income tax levy. So, you know, that's kind of an open, up in the air question if anyone wants to come back with a levy of any less millage or more millage, or the only levy that I know that we will have to put on the ballot or at some time is the street lighting levy, because the millage has plummeted, as I've said before. There's not enough being collected due to it being tied to the property taxes, so we're over $200,000 in the hole in that account with First Energy. So the answer is to try to pump that millage up a little bit and get caught up with what we owe them and then stay current. The alternative is if a levy like that would not pass, they would start shutting off streetlights. And if they would do that, they would also charge us for that. They don't do that for free. They had a similar situation, as I've said it many times, in Richmond Heights, where they did shut off streetlights and did bill the city of Richmond Heights to pay for those. And that could be something like from what they recommended, like every other street light, or the other side of the street and keep one side on. Maybe shutting off areas that people don't live in, like parks and around buildings, things like that. So, you know, they're pretty much, from what they told us, well experienced at doing this. They've had to do this in the past in other communities. So, as I said, the most recent was Richmond Heights. As far as like cuts, we started looking at it, and as you all know, we're in this 120-day window, which we got to be below 100 days, probably more around 90, something like that, where we have to have our plan, and we are currently working on that. We're also looking at some of the things we're not going to be doing this year. As I stated Wednesday night, the pool will not open this year. We will not be hiring any summer help. Any events that we've had in the past have been canceled through the end of the year. And we're looking at shutting down the jail and sending the prisoners over to Bedford Heights. But there is a cost with that, so we're crunching the numbers on whether it's going to save us enough money that would make that worthwhile. We're getting some prices on traffic cameras. We're also looking at additional layoffs happening in the next couple of weeks. Some of the departments that will be affected pretty much are all of them. So we have had some resignations and retirements. We've had to date 2 in finance. And that would leave us with only a finance director without any help at all. So obviously we have to fill one of those positions. The economic development director, who, if you don't know, she turned in her letter of resignation and will be leaving in a few weeks. It's been rumored, and I did get a letter from one of the firefighters, captains, in fact, just yesterday, that he is now going to be leaving on, what is that, June 7th or 4th? June 4th. Okay, June 4th. So we're going to see more of that. We're going to see more police officers leaving. We're going to see more firefighters leaving, paramedics. We're going to see other employees in other departments also looking at leaving too, which means, you know, paying them out, buying them out, whatever at the end of their term with all the accumulated comp time, sick time, vacation time, holidays, et cetera, et cetera. So the workforce is shrinking. On any given day, there's probably only about 4 guys in the service department because they are down to 6, which means when they have vacations, which they're entitled to, they take them. That could leave with only 3 or 4 guys actually out there doing the work. So, you know, the potholes are still out there. When you get a rain like today, you get more potholes opening up, new ones. It's not just a snow and ice thing, it's a rain thing too. So a lot of the areas that they've patched, they've had to go back and do them again and again, and they're going to be out there doing them again and again. We're getting a lot of calls about potholes. We're getting a lot of calls from individuals who own properties because they can't get those properties inspected for, you know, anywhere from a month to 2 months because we only have 1 inspector and 1 secretary, and BIS only has 1 inspector and 1 secretary. So, you know, we're cut to the bone right now. We're at the bone. And, you know, people are just going to have to be patient and wait. You know, calling and complaining about it doesn't get it resolved any faster when you only have, you know, 1 or 2 people in a department. So I think that covers. Oh, we're looking at some other cuts in recreation and human services here. We've talked about this in the past about eliminating the van service and the meal service, some of the outreach things that we do. You know, the building, obviously the last resort, but we want the building to stay open, but that might mean people would just have to come here. We wouldn't be able to go get them or take them things, such as food. So I have a serious concern this month in May, as I hope you know, we've said this quite a few times too, that we have 3 payrolls this month. It's just the way it falls. We also have the debt service that has to be paid on the city's outstanding notes and bonds. So we haven't been paying any of the bills. So now the bills are going to be backing up again. And you know, we'll probably go through the same thing that we did a couple months ago when, you know, the internet will get shut off, the postage machine will get shut off. You know, vendors will stop delivering things, so you got, you know, can't get coal patch for potholes. Now we're getting asphalt, but asphalt's cheaper than coal patch. So, you know, we've been denied and turned away from places because we owe them money and they want it. So we have some other, you know, lurking issues and monsters that are out there that we're hoping we can hold at bay for a while. But it's kind of like a month at a time right now. So, yes. Well, why don't you go through the council president? That's actually the proper way to do it.
Madam Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Mayor, you said that, you stated that some police officers and firemen are leaving.
Yes.
Are you going to replace them?
No.
Okay, so what about the safety for the constituents, for the residents?
Well, you need to define your question, safety. What do you mean?
If we don't have enough police officers right now,
Right.
what are we going to do?
Well, they're still going to work and they're still going to go out. They're still going
But
to
it's
show
so
up
much
at a call.
crime is happening, break-ins and
Right.
everything is happening right now.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Yeah.
so what should I tell the constituents?
If they call the police, they'll be there.
But you just said they're leaving.
Well, they are leaving. I mean, you can't stop someone from
I
retiring
understand that.
or quitting and going to another
I
community.
understand that. But
Right.
what about the safety for the residents?
The safety is there. If they call the police, they're gonna get there.
Okay.
They may not get there as quick, but they're gonna get there. And it's the same thing with the fire department or a squad. Now, if you know a thing or two about other cities, like the city of Cleveland and their triage system, they rate calls when you call them. And through that new dispatch center that's gonna be opening, that's what they're gonna do. If someone has symptoms or if something is going on, they will talk that person through that and find out what their symptoms are, and then they will rate them on a call list to get whatever help they need to them.
So you said the pools, no summer here, all events are going to be canceled, and you're shutting down the jail?
No, I didn't say, I said we're
I mean,
looking
yeah,
at,
you're looking at,
yeah,
okay.
we're crunching the numbers and getting comparisons.
Okay, what about the fire department? Because before you said you were going to close it down.
No, I never said I was closing down the fire department. When did I say that?
The one on the opposite side, not on North.
No, I said we would look at making that either a jump station or possibly closing it. I didn't say we were going to close it. We're looking at a jump station or
So
possibly
it
having
will
to close
remain
it.
open?
Hmm?
It will remain open? What?
We're looking at making it a jump station or closing it, one or the other. One or the other.
Madam Chair.
We don't have that answer yet.
Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Mayor, could you just explain what a jump station is, so everybody kind of...
Well, the fire chief kind of educated me on this, so I'll let him explain it.
It's where you have,
Can you stand, Chief, and kind of
where you have
lost
two
the-
pieces of apparatus, we have a rescue squad and we have a fire engine. Whatever call comes in, that's what the gentleman at the firefighter at the station will take. So if they're on a squad call, and a fire call comes in that area, sorry, we won't have an engine to go there. Because they're gonna be out on the squad. We don't, you know, I've stated this before, our minimum is 8. It's not a luxury number. It's not something that gets me 2 squads and 2 engines. We're on track for 5,300 calls this year. Last year was 4,700. 1,200 times a year, we're out double or triple times with that squad. I cannot do it with 6 people. We're going to drop vehicles, people are going to wait, people are going to have to wait for mutual aid, and that's going to get old. The other cities aren't going to want to keep coming to us if we're not reciprocating, because that's what mutual aid is. We help them, they help us. If they're coming to us 3/4 of the time, we're only going to their quarter time, the mayor's gonna get some phone calls. Because those mayors aren't gonna, their residents aren't supporting us. So the minimum is 8, and that's, there's a reason why we have 8. It's to cover the calls in this town.
Madam Chair.
Is that you?
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Brownlee?
I'm kind of confused. I'm surprised to see you here saying this right now. Because, what was it? 2 months ago, you were here supposedly presenting us with a balanced budget. In fact, we had a windfall. We were going to be about $700,000 under what we expected to bring in this year. So I'm kind of surprised to see you here now telling us a different story, considering 7 weeks ago you told us something completely different, that we had balanced the budget, and when I asked whether we had cut anything, you said no. Or actually the finance director had said no. These are just the way the numbers added up. So I'm kind of surprised. What changed in the past 6 months, or 6 weeks?
First of all, I never said we had a $700,000 surplus.
I have the numbers right here.
Well, whatever numbers you have are probably not accurate, because I
They came
never
right
said,
from Ms. Kroll.
look, they didn't come from me, and I never said we had a $700,000 surplus. And as far as cuts at that time, a couple of months ago, I had already made the cuts at the beginning of the year. In January, I had already laid off building inspectors, secretaries, 4
So the
firefighters.
question is, Mr. Mayor.
Excuse me,
the question is,
allow me to finish, okay?
No,
No,
you're not
allow me
answering
to
the
answer.
question.
If
I'd
you're
like
not
to
going to let me
the
answer your question, I'm not done
I'm
answering
giving you
it.
the opportunity.
Would you please?
I don't have the gavel.
Mr.
right
Mayor,
there.
the question
Mr. Brownlee, please be just a little more respectful. You asked the question, please wait for
I'm
the
expecting
answer.
an
and
answer.
then
I'm
you-
giving
I'm
you
gonna
an
phrase it
answer. I'm
differently.
going to give you an
I'm
answer if
phrasing
you'll
it
stop
differently this
talking.
time.
I know that's a
I'll
hard
phrase it
thing for you
differently
to
this
do,
time to help you
but you need to
clarify.
stop talking so I can finish answering your
Mr. Mayor,
question.
you're the one being asked the questions right now.
I'm
So
going
would
to
you
answer your
please
question
wait
one
to
at
answer
a
the question?
time. One at a time.
Take him out.
I'm trying to clarify, Mr. Mayor.
One at a time,
Mr. Brownlee, would you
Councilman.
like to be escorted out
For what? Trying to
For-
ask a question?
for being out of order?
Well, is not the
Of
mayor
order.
the one arguing with me right
No,
now? I'm
you-
trying to
I'm
ask
still
a
trying to
question.
answer your first question.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
As I said, $700,000 did not come from me. And the cuts were already made in January when 4 firefighters were laid off, building inspectors, secretaries at City Hall, and there were also some other cuts that were made in Recreation and Human Services. We also stopped spending on certain things, on certain contracts and services. Those were cuts that were already made. So when Ms. Kroll said there had been no cuts made at that time, and at these meetings, I said we are waiting for the levy, whether it passes or not, we would still have to make some cuts if it did pass. If it didn't, the cuts would be more severe. Those were my answers, which were consistent at all city council meetings and committee meetings.
All right, so here's the numbers from our meetings on the budget. Your finance director, Ms. Kroll, estimated that we would bring in $19 million. Her budget that she presented, or rather her appropriations, she didn't present a budget, her appropriations that she presented was only 18.3, I'm sorry, almost 18.4. So supposedly, according to these numbers which were presented 2 months ago, we are $600,000 under our budget. We should be in the clear. But now you're telling me we're not paying bills, and we haven't been. We just heard a couple weeks ago from Waste Management that we hadn't paid them $500,000 in February, I'm guessing. So I'm kind of surprised that now we're sitting here saying we don't have enough money when 2 months ago we were estimating to have an extra $600,000 come December of this year.
Well, Mr. Brownlee, do you know what the word estimate means? Do you know what that means?
Would you answer my question, please?
I am. Estimate means it's like a guess, what we're supposed to
So
be
we're
getting.
guessing. Guess is an
Well,
estimate
it's
for
like, yeah,
different.
estimate, what we're supposed to be getting. What we are supposed to be getting isn't always what shows up. And I've said this before too, about Cuyahoga County and about the state of Ohio. The estimate may be for a certain dollar amount to come from the property taxes on the police and fire levy. But that doesn't always come in that estimate. It could be and has been a lot less, which is how and why the street lighting fund tanked, and so did the police and fire levy, which paid for the police and fire officers because the property taxes went down. And it's the same thing with RITA. They can give you an estimate as to what you're going to be getting in that quarter, but if people aren't working in the city and they're not paying their RITA taxes, then you cannot make them give you that money. The money isn't guaranteed. It's not a slam dunk. If property taxes aren't paid, we don't get our share. If income taxes aren't paid, we don't get what the estimate was. So it's like anything in life when we're bidding out work, like road work, and we estimate that it's going to be $300,000, and then the bids come in at $370,000. Oh well, maybe the price of diesel fuel went up, or the price of gasoline, or wages went up. You know, it's like trying to get as close as you can and doing the best that you can. So if there was $700,000 or $600,000 that was estimated that didn't come in, I know the RITA payment that came in was a lot less than what they told us we were going to be getting.
How much?
Lots. I heard a figure of $22,000.
We're talking about 600,000. Not
No, I'm just
200,000.
talking about one RITA payment. There's many. I'm just talking about one RITA payment, okay? We don't get all this money in one big check. It's like I tried to explain to you before, that when the county sends money, it's from whatever they collect. They don't break it out specifically like, here's a check for rubbish. Here's a second check for police and fire. Here's a third check for street lighting. When it comes all at once. And if it's supposed to be $900,000 and it only comes in at $700,000 or $600,000, that's because a lot of people didn't pay their property taxes.
So what are the numbers, Mr. Mayor?
What
Seems like we
numbers?
should be talking about the new numbers then. What are the new numbers?
We don't know what the new numbers are yet, Mr. Brownlee.
We knew 2 months ago what the numbers we thought they were. Do we have an estimate for now what they are?
No, we do not. We do not know what the new numbers are, which will probably be off-center also.
So how are we going to know how much to cut if we have no new numbers?
Well, it's like anything you do. You know, you look at what you currently have and what you know your deficit is. We're projected, okay, by people that are a lot smarter than me and a lot smarter than all of you. I was on the phone last Friday with Moody's out of Chicago about our city's bond rating for 2 hours. You have $1.5 million deficit. How are you going to erase it? Okay? All of those things that I talked about for 2.5 hours, if any of them don't happen, if all the stars don't align and the moon doesn't align behind the sun, then guess what? We still have a deficit. So there's no guaranteed way, unless, like I said, and this is the struggle, you want to shut down this building and lay everybody off? Everybody? Or do we want to keep a couple people here to try to help the elderly? Do we want to really go in and just close a fire station? Or do we want to maybe try to make it a jump station and still help some people? I mean, yeah, we can get there really fast. As I was told and I have learned through the years, the most expensive commodity you have are employees with benefits and salaries. Mostly benefits.
Yes.
And that's a lot. That's huge. So we're doing the best we can to get there. But as I've said before, and you have made comments and you've kind of snickered and laughed and mocked, you cannot depend on the county. You cannot depend on RITA. You cannot depend on the state of Ohio. You cannot. What they tell you you're getting, or you're supposed to be getting, and what you actually get are like way over here. And then we have to fill it in.